Good. So, first of all, I want to congratulate you on all of the incredible success so far. The company is barely 2 years old, and now you're a household name, pretty much. I still don't don't get which word to use. Is it Plexit or
Yeah.
Ask Perplexity?
Plexit is good. Yeah, whatever, as long as it's being used.
Okay, so you scaled everything, but one thing surprised me the most is that, well, everybody thought you were a rapper, and then you come out with your own LLM. So can you tell us a little bit more about Sonar, what it is, and what it can do?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of started slightly over 2 years ago, and been focusing a lot on kind of like building like foundational infrastructure, because that's the only way to sort of like scale your product and make it fast and cheap in terms of like serving cost. And so we kind of like spend a lot of time working on it. And as a result of this work, is just so we build a lot of interesting infrastructure that we thought could be available to, it could be useful for like other like companies who kind of like don't want to do it this process themselves. And so recently, so we kind of released essentially what powers Perplexity under the hood. It's a sort of like LLM grounded API that just has access to the real-time information about the world, like always up to date. Doesn't hallucinate much, very fast, very very efficient as well, because we spend a lot of time on it. And more importantly, I think performs very well comparing to other providers. So for example, so there's like several offerings depending on like your needs. So there's like cheaper, faster models. There is some more advanced stuff if you want to do like, if you want to answer like more complicated queries that requires like reasoning and maybe like multi-step planning and stuff like that. So there's multiple options. And so, we run like various benchmarks on it and sort of like confirm that, it does well. So this is a, benchmark that was released by OpenAI. And so we kind of like favorably compare there. This is just a, kind of like academic benchmark. I think what is important is how actually people perceive it. So very recently, I think a couple of weeks ago, there's this LMC arena where people usually like to compare LLMs, and they recently released a version of it that is specialized for grounded LLMs. And so, here, as you can see, it's we do also very well. I think comparable to only Google, or I guess only Google is kind of like competitive, and we outperform all the other things. But I think like what is most important about this is also cost of it. So I think, on average, I think we're like at least like 50–80% cheaper than the other things. So you can get the same level of intelligence, but just don't have to pay as much. So yeah, I think we have this program that we started. So for like API adoption, if you guys want to participate, so there is some credits, and so yeah, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to provide like guidance.
Thank you so much. So when we first met, you were like a team of 5 or 6 people, and since then it has scaled to how many?
I think we probably over 200. I don't even know, like 230, I would say total.
230 people.
Yeah.
And I remember every time you were looking for some role and I would send you candidates, you were very, very specific about what you need. You were like, okay, this guy on this resume looks tired. This guy on this resume is not experienced enough. So you were always looking for something very particular. How do you approach hiring? How do you get people that ship relentlessly?
Yeah, I think it was, especially early on, I think it was very important to get like a first 10 people who's going to be, they're going to be essentially like backbone of your company. And it was, we were like very specific about the roles we want to hire, like a type of people we want to hire. So actually one of the things that we implemented early on, which we don't do it right now for obvious reasons, is instead of just a normal interview, we would run sort of like this like trial period. So a person comes in for, let's say, like four weeks a day, and 4 weeks a week, 4 days a week, sorry. And then, they just work. They're like part of the team. Initially, because we didn't even pay for it. And so that's actually already tells you if like people are willing to work for like a couple of days for free. That tells you that they're like very interested in. That's a good sign by itself. And we just work with them and then see if this is type of person you kind of like willing to work for the rest, for like next couple of years. And that was a great, I think, idea that we had. Is so it helped us to hire like very solid people early on. Obviously, now it's impossible. But like one of the qualities, I think, like I still talk to every candidate that we hire, at least on the engineering side. And I'm like being usually like very transparent. I'm telling them, okay, so we work a lot. Are you willing to do this? And if people saying, oh, I'm not sure. So that's already like tells me everything. The other thing I'm kind of like we don't. I think like engineers in our company is the main driving force. So everybody needs to be very technical. We don't hire like non-technical people. Even like our designers, most of them they can code. And even now, like some of them who didn't know like how to code, they try to vibe code, so which is great to see. And that kind of sort of like emphasis on sort of like engineering excellence, I think is very important for a small company. I think we, early on we kind of like were inspired by Google. That's exactly what they did. That helped us to, get people who are technical, who can, work hard, who can move fast. So worked out well for us.
So I remember some time ago, Facebook introduced this concept of 2 pizza teams that you can feed with 2 pizzas that were, 8 people ready to ship things straight to prod and then just A/B test them. How is developing in the age of AI products different from that culture?
Yeah, I think it's if I look back, I think most of the sort of like important features we launched, there are actually efforts of very small teams. I would say like 3 to 5 people. So you just get a group of people, put them in a room for like whatever times, like a couple of weeks, a month, and they just like relentlessly focus on the task at hand. And I think it's actually, especially now when the tools are like abundance, AI is here, right? You can be like very creative. I think you don't need actually a lot of people to do like great things. And in fact, I've seen several like failure cases where you maybe like allocate more resources in terms of like people or whatever, and those projects usually move much slower because you have to pay a lot of cost on like organizing them. There is like communication, sort of like like constrained, so because you kind of like everybody needs to be on the same page. So it's much, I would say like much slower usually. I think the other thing, what changed, and I think it's very important to adapt, is we used to have this sort of like test-driven development where when you write code and you write unit test first, and then you write code, and you just like make sure everything works. So this is still useful, but I think in the world of AI, where a lot of code, or like a lot of the features, and even like some code is no longer deterministic because you use an LLM that is like natively a probabilistic model, and so you kind of like you cannot be 100% certain that this circuit is going to work like that. So I think now, as a concept of eval-driven development is even more important. So, and that's how we're trying to operate. Like every new feature before we build, we kind of like let's build like evaluation data set. What is when we launch this feature, like how it's even going to behave, and so once we do that, then we start like building the feature, and like we're saying, okay, so on this eval, so like works well. Okay, so like there's like some failure cases. Let's figure out what is not working. And if you have like very good evals, if you have infrastructure around it, if you can run them, very frequently, very consistently, you can basically just like gives you like another dimension of visibility. And I think it's very important right now. Without it, I think you cannot build AI product anymore. I think we had to learn it over time.
Do you guys use a lot of LLMs to code, or just? pure handwritten?
Yeah, I think we're trying to use a lot of this. I think increasingly it's going to get even more important. I can clearly see that, let's say even now, like maybe in 6 months, like a lot of code, like there's going to be this like code agents where they just like run autonomously and they will like identify some problem in your code. They're going to send a PR for you, and you just like review it and accept it or reject it. And so imagine like 10% of or like 20% of code is written like this. Like in a year it's going to be like 50% or whatever. Like eventually it's going to be like 90%. And so at some point we're going to get to the state where the current AI is going to write the next AI. And once we're there, it's going to be essentially singularity.
Wow. I actually like thinking about this kind of future. But your company is less 2 years old. You started as a text to SQL tool, and now you have developed your own search engine, your own browser, your own large language models. But you're still very lean and scrappy as an organization. I used to hear a lot that building search is expensive. How do you manage that, and how do you allocate resources?
Yeah, I mean, search engine, I think in my mind, like what Google built, like search engine is perhaps like the most complicated piece of engineering that ever, I think it's even more complicated than maybe like launching a rocket to the space, in my opinion. I think what happened though is I think there is essentially very transformative change has happened. I think the first signs of it was when the BERT model came out in 2017. And the first realization came out is that, okay, actually a lot of the understanding about web and like quality and meaning of like each pages can be learned unsupervisedly, right? Before, Google has built this entire infrastructure to rely on like user clicks, like user data. But what happened is, so now with this powerful LLMs, you can actually learn a lot of it, a lot of understanding of the web, of the text completely unsupervised with like models like transformers, where you just do like auto-regressive prediction. And 2 years ago when ChatGPT, when we started, it's just like it kind of like this LLMs took it to the next level, essentially. And more recently, what you've probably seen is this like big transformation, which just seems like maybe not clear yet, but I think it's going to be very profound, is the main user of the search is not going to be a human, but it's going to be an LLM. Like sometimes, it's an essential that like kind of like has like completely different guarantees on what search has to do, right? So you don't need to spend as much time on like, optimizing this like super low latency, super like custom models. You can just, latency constraints is much greater because now you're not replacing a single search query, you're replacing search session. Like for example, if somebody goes on Google right now to plan a vacation, right? So they're probably not doing this in one query, they're doing this over a session, like 2 weeks. And so this is what type of things that deep research is going to do for you, right? So you just like, you type one query, like I want to book vacation, and you're just going to go off and like search for whatever, like hotels, flights, whatever you need, and perform multiple sessions. So as a user, you're going to save your time because you just, you kick it off, like one hour later, you're going to come back, you're going to get an answer. But all of those queries have been performed by LLM. So, and kind of like you no longer need to optimize for, things that has to be clicked because the user is not going to click. You just need to optimize for like content.
Do you think it's going to be changing on the other end as well? Like, what if websites, instead of having robots.txt, will have an LLM that would talk to your LLM?
Yeah, I think it's actually, I think it's going to happen. Basically, what we see right now is this like things like operator, basically like browsing agents, is kind of like a lot of inefficiencies because of because like websites is not ready for this yet. So you have to do like screenshots, you have to like scroll, and it's like you basically like burning a lot of compute for nothing. Because like imagine each website has a LLM-friendly API. And so you just like can like be very efficient. Things are going to be much faster. Things are going to be also much cheaper. It's going to take some time because not every website is very advanced. Like imagine like DMV, convert into be like LLM friendly. That's probably going to take like 20 years. So I think we're going to be initially in this like period of time where, you know, some sites maybe going to move faster on that front, but like some won't be moving so fast, and so you'll have to have this like hybrid approach where you know, using LLM-friendly API, or you're using like screenshots or whatever. But I think it's going to come at some point. And perhaps there's going to be even like different LLM. One is for humans, and one is for, is there a different internet? One is for humans, and one is for LLMs.
So you're also working on your own browser, Comet, that has been announced. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like the browser arguably is the app on a desktop, right? This is probably the app that everyone uses the most. So and that's why, you know, it has like such a high retention. You know, it's in your muscle memory. One of the reasons is like Google is so popular is because, you know, it's because of Chrome, because you just like, you don't even think, you just like alt tab, type a query, and it goes. You don't even, some people don't even like notice that it is Google. And I think it was like very important for us to sort of like keep growing, to sort of like control this piece of, this is just the window. And so, but I think like there is also a lot of opportunity here, because, you know, so far all of the search has been like Google, Perplexity, whatever. Everything is around like public files, right? Whatever you can sort of like scrape and crawl in the open internet. But as you can imagine, there is a lot of you know, very valuable information that is behind, you know, login, you know, behind yeah, whatever, like, yeah, essentially like login, right? So you like, we cannot go and like scrape it, but like browser provides you this like unique opportunity, because, you know, as a user, this is your browser, you like visit those pages, like let's say I go to like my Bank of America, and if I give permission to the agent, okay, so like go and, you know, check my bank account's balance. So it can actually in the browser, you know, because it has access to it, it just can go like open a page, like look at your balance sheet and give you a report. So I think this is going to be important. Essentially, you know, going to add just like, imagine like combining personal data with the public data. Like one of the queries that I usually run in Comet right now is when I have a meetings, every morning I run a query like, who are the people I'm meeting today, and tell me biography. So what it does, it goes to like my calendar, pulls the people, and then for each of them it runs like a search query, pulls the bio, and then it just like gives me a report. So that like saves so much time. And then you can imagine doing the actions on it. So now like you can imagine, okay, so like I'm meeting this person, you know, maybe like, let's reschedule. So it goes to like reschedule your calendar. So you kind of like, that's just like the first steps of it. There is just like a lot more to do here. So I'm very excited about this.
This sounds really cool, and also congrats on the launch of the new iOS app that is able to do things for you. Guys, if you haven't updated your Perplexity apps on iOS, and I think it's been out on Android for quite some time, please do. It's incredible. So you can ask it to do things for you in voice mode. What are the most used features right now?
Yeah, I think it's like what I'm using a lot is like those I think email and calendar actions. I think that's like super useful. Reminders is a great use case. I think maybe the interesting one was the query, I guess, I really liked and was like kind of pretty impressive that it is working. So we asked who was the person who like announced moon landing or something like that, and it basically just like first went search for it, and then we say like, okay, so who's the person, and play that video. So it would like search for it, and then it just like found the person, confirm it, and then it went to YouTube, open YouTube, and start playing this exact video for you. So that was kind of, I think this like multi-step navigation where people hate doing, right? Because like, let's say you have to like input password, you have to like, open like multiple pages to get, I think like great example again, like bank statement, right? So like, how painful right now is to go to any bank and like see what's your statement. It just like takes like a minute. And this is exactly the same flow that you're gonna be doing like every day. So I don't wanna do it yet. I just wanna like say, and then you're just gonna do it and go and like do it for me. So this like multi-step navigation, I think, is going to be very important. But yeah, hopefully like over time, I think we will get like more capabilities and like integration with other apps. And so the other one is like obviously very important, very restaurant. So that those are very useful use cases.
Yeah, I can imagine it. It can also get DoorDash for you. That is really cool. So many think that the future of AGI or SSI or whatever it's called now lies in world descriptor models. Do you believe this? And what do you think is going to be the future of search in this world?
Yeah. I think like I guess for the model itself, right? So I guess there was this like great paper recently published by DeepMind, the era of experience. Yeah, essentially, I guess we now kind of like reaching the limits of what we can learn from the world through data, through humanly generated data. And I think that the next frontier is basically how can we learn about the world through interaction with the world, right? So like there's a lot of things, like a lot of reward. Essentially, all of this is about like getting like a reward model, a reward function. So saying like you do like some step of actions, and then somebody needs to tell you if it's a good one or not. So in certain cases, it's very difficult. We've seen recently for this reasoning models that like math, because there's like formal verifiers is picking up, and there is like programming is also one, because you can like generate a program, compile it, run unit tests, and it can tell you, if it's accurate or not. But like, there's like lots of other cases where, where you just like, it's very hard to create a reward. Or just like very delayed. Like imagine you have an AI that needs to solve like global warming, right? So you have to wait like years to just realize. Or imagine AI that's just gonna prove like, I don't know, like some theorem, and there's like 5 people in the world who even understand this proof. So it's gonna take them, months or years to verify. But I think over time, essentially the way I'm thinking about, there's gonna be this like easier things where you can derive a reward function. Let's say like medication. If I'm taking something, my blood sugar goes up or down, I think that's easier to detect. And so I can derive reward from it. And hopefully, as you can add in those things, there's going to be like also like generalization properties, and you can like, hop from one to another. It's going to take some time, but I think it's this approach. It's kind of like general like reinforcement learning. I think it should work.
Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing the experience. I think it's invaluable, especially for all the founders out there building. So let's applaud to Denis. Thank you, man. Thanks. Good. So next up,